The 7PRC is about to make its inevitable debut in the long-range scene, but it's not what we thought it was going to be. In today's video, I'm going to jump into some of the pros and cons of this new cartridge. Let's go! The 6.5 PRC and the 300 PRC have become incredibly popular in the last couple of years, and in fact, just recently, last week, I bought both the 6.5 PRC and a 300 PRC, which will be featured on the channel. I've got to go through the same rigmarole of licensing a firearm in South Africa, so once we've done that, they will feature on the channel, and I literally did it because you guys kept asking me about that, so I'm doing as I'm told, essentially. And I needed an excuse to buy 2 more rifles. So, I'm super excited about that. Now, you'd be forgiven if you thought that Hornady would take their very successful 6.5 PRC case design and either neck that up to 7mm PRC, or they would take their 300 PRC, neck it down to 7mm, and have a wildly overbore 7mm PRC. Now, that's what we think. They haven't done that, which is a little bit of a surprise to me. It's a little bit of a curveball, and they've made the case sort of in between. Now, the downside of that is, if they went for their existing case design and just changed the diameter of the bullet, so let's quickly tackle that for the very new guys here. The 6.5 PRC shoots a 6.5mm bullet, okay, so that's the physical diameter of the bullet. The 300 PRC shoots a 30 caliber bullet, so a .308 bullet. So the 7 PRC is literally somewhere in the middle, which is what some would call the sweet spot. Now, if they took either of those cases, you could literally just swap out the bushing in your die and use your existing brass once you've chambered up a new pipe, and use your existing dies and brass to shoot either a 7 PRC, whether it was based on the 6.5 or 300 PRC case would be kind of irrelevant, but you could use your same components. With this new case design, you can't do that, so it's new cases, new dies, which is expensive nowadays. Some would also argue that, you know, companies are struggling to keep existing things in stock at the moment. Why go through the whole effort of designing a brand new case when we can't even keep the current stuff on the shelves at the moment? So that's another argument to be made. Either way, at the end of this video, please do me a favor, leave me a comment what you think of the new 7 PRC. I think it's awesome that we're sort of going through this modernization of old school cartridges. And what I mean by that is, let's take for example the 300 Win Mag. One could argue that the 300 PRC is a modernized 300 Win Mag, getting rid of some of the stuff we didn't really need, like the belt. I personally never minded the belt on the belted Magnum, but basically if you were today to want to buy a long action 30 caliber rifle, I would just buy a 300 PRC. You know, I'd get the Savage in the ACC from MDT, and that's a really, really good buy. If I was going to buy a factory rifle, I wouldn't buy a 300 Win Mag. There's nothing wrong with your 300 Win Mag, but you know, things have come a long way. New VLD bullets, tighter twist rates on the rifle. So sometimes that's sort of the limitation with the old school 300 Win Mags, is the twist rate's not quite right for the modern bullets, and then you could run into some limitations. Now, let's not get too sidetracked. Now, looking at the SAAMI spec, we can see on this cartridge that the case from its bottom to its neck is significantly longer than a 6.5 PRC case, which is essentially what I have in my hand here. The problem with that is the 7 PRC has been designed to shoot heavy 4 caliber bullets, okay, so let's say 180 grain and above bullets, because otherwise if you're shooting lighter than that, you might as well shoot a 6.5 PRC with a 156 grain Berger, and that's going to hit very hard. So let's stick to heavy 4 caliber bullets. Now, the bullet needs to be seated at a specific point in the case, and when you have the long VLD bullets, because to add weight to a 7mm cartridge, there's really only one way to do that. You can't make it thicker, so you have to make it longer. And the problem becomes then, the case becomes too long to cycle out of a short action magazine. Okay, so that's the limitation. So immediately with their new case design, you're basically, it's not a short action case anymore. And one could almost make the argument, if you're shooting 190 grain bullets and you're loading them to the correct length, you're really not going to be able to shoot this properly out of a medium action tube. Medium actions are something that's sort of new on the market. There's not a lot of offerings with that. So really, in effect, the 7 PRC is a long action cartridge. So guys, this begs the question, if they were never really going to do a short action 7 PRC, why bother with sort of an odd length case design? If you're going to go long action, do it the right way. Give us a 300 PRC neck down to 7mm, And let's load 190 grain burgers and send them at 3,200 feet per second. What's wrong with that? And this is exactly what this is. In fact, this is a 28 Sherman Magnum, okay, which is based on the 300. This is a 300 PRC case, neck down to 7mm. But after I shoot this, the shoulder angle is going to change a little bit, and then it'll outrun 28 Nosler. Now, this thing is going to eat barrels like nobody's business. But if you're buying this as a high-performing hunting rifle, or you shoot the odd long-range match, who cares if you get 1,000 rounds down your barrel? It's another consumable. Just buy another barrel, go through the whole process of getting your barrel changed. If I'm only going to shoot deer and antelope and kudu and stuff with this, it'll last me a lifetime. 1,000 rounds is a long time. Let's say I shoot 30 rounds to muck about every time I go to hunt, get 0, shoot a target or 2. Still going to last me 10 years, so I don't really mind that. Now, having said that, I think the 7 PRC is going to be an absolute raging success for Hornady and whoever decides to chamber it. You have to realize this is the same company that brought you the 6.5 Creedmoor, the 6.5 PRC, the 300 PRC. They've got a massive marketing budget, so I've got no doubt that they're going to make a success of it. I think it's an exciting round to chamber, factory rifles in, something maybe a little bit less recoiling than a full spec neck down 300 PRC case would give you, because that's obviously going to recoil a little bit more given the larger volume. Hopefully this thing is crazy efficient. I think it's going to be still a barrel burner. But yeah, it's exciting. New cartridges are always exciting. If it's successful, which as I said, I have no doubt it will be, hell, I'll probably even chamber one up if you guys want to see that on the channel. Guys, so let me know your thoughts down below. Are you excited for the 7 PRC? I've always said to my mates, I think the 7mm is that sweet spot, and this is something Gunworks have been on for the longest time with their 7 LRM, and in fact the 7 PRC is quite similar to that case design. You don't necessarily have the soft recoiling properties of a 6.5, like the 6.5 PRC would, but you also don't have that hard recoiling factors that come with shooting a big 30 cal. So the 7mm is somewhere in that sweet spot. It's got plenty of knocking power, massive selection of high BC bullets available, quality components. So I think it's going to be a winner either way you look at it. I just wish they necked down a 300 PRC case, or they went for the 6.5 route and made it a proper short action 7 PRC, because that would have been fun too. Perhaps a nice little, backpack gun or an NRL hunter setup or whatever. So yeah, I'm curious to see your thoughts down below. As always, leave a like, leave a subscribe. And guys, remember the algorithm is against us, so make sure you share this far and wide with your mates so we can grow the channel and keep telling people about this awesome sport of ours, because the more people we get into it, the better stuff we'll have, because companies will keep developing things. And on that note, I want to thank MDT Modular Driven Technologies. MDTTech.com is where I get all my precision rifle chassis, so you want to swing by there if you're in the market for your next chassis system. Trust me, first one I bought, badass products and a very cool company to deal with too. So thank you very much for them for making videos like this possible. See you guys in the next one. Bye.